Hi everyone, before you dive into the episode, I just wanted to interrupt really quickly. You're gonna dive into this episode and you're gonna hear me call this podcast the Holistic Hustle Podcast. And that is because it used to be the old name of this podcast. And it was an amazing ride. I'm so grateful for the Holistic Hustle Podcast and what it served. But recently I've decided to rebrand the podcast based off the evolution of my own journey, my own story, and where God is calling me to go next. And so now the rebrand, which you may know already, is called Wisdom is Wealth. Didn't want you to be confused, so dive into this episode. They were an amazing episode, amazing guests, amazing insights, and enjoy.
If you're 19 years old and you're starting a business, your work-life balance is going to look a lot different than someone who's in their 20s and 30s with multiple kids and a spouse and multiple businesses.
Hi, I'm Justin Buonamo, and this is Holistic Hustle. Holistic Hustle is doing things for the right reasons, working hard for the right reasons. The healthy balance of what work and progression and accomplishment and success should actually look like. Welcome back to another episode of the Holistic Hustle Podcast with Justin Buonamo. I have a good friend of mine here today who I just told her that the audience is going to eat her up, and you're going to see here in a second why. I have Alexia Hoffman with me, and a question that she poses in her bio, which is genius, is: have you ever realized that your goals aren't big enough to live the life of your dreams? Alexia Hoffman spent years setting goals that others said were too big, only to discover that they weren't big enough. Starting her real estate career at 19, she sold just one home in her first 6 months. Less than a year later, she was making six figures, and within 3 years, she had completely transformed her life. Now, Alexia sells real estate, hosts a podcast, coaches entrepreneurs, and has an online community for entrepreneurial moms, and continues to start new businesses. She is also the co-owner of a real estate acquisition and development company dedicated to bettering the community. Alexia helps people set bigger goals to achieve their dream life. Learn about her fulfillment blueprint, which outlines actions to clarify your vision and achieve a more fulfilled life. And we're going to learn about some of those things here today. We've got some great questions for Alexia, and make sure that you stick around for this entire episode and listen to it twice, because what this woman has accomplished in 26 short years, most people wouldn't do in 3 lifetimes. And so, Alexia, so pumped to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, I'm blushing. You are just so flattering, and I appreciate all the kind words, and so excited to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you deserve all the kind words. Like, as I was talking to you the first time and then doing my due diligence, and then I popped open one of your reels, and I'm like, I'm no mathematician, but like when she posted this compared to the age she says she is, she's either 25 or 26 right now. And all of the things she has accomplished are just absolutely wild. That's got to be a typo, but it wasn't. And a big part of it is because you got started early. And so you got started in real estate at 19. And you've accomplished some crazy things since then at a very young age. So can you talk about what led you to wanting to get into real estate and generate some success for yourself at a young age?
Definitely. Yeah. It's so funny that you bring that up, because I was actually so scared to share my age for so many years. Like, I am not someone who ever lies. And I think I remember I lied to one client one time when they asked how old I was, because I was like 19 showing them a house. And I was like, how old do you think I am? She's like 24. I was like, yeah, okay. And I like still feel guilty about it because I don't lie. And like that like sat with me, but I was so scared for anyone to know how old I was, especially in an industry where it's like one of the biggest financial decisions most people ever make. So truly, I really felt like it was a God thing that got me into real estate at 19. I moved out from California to Michigan on a lacrosse scholarship. I played for a year, and I quit after a year. I felt really called to go to Africa. I spent 6 weeks there. And the day I came back, I emailed my coach. I told my family, I'm like, I'm losing my scholarship. It's not where I'm meant to be. And so after I did that, my parents were like, well, you better figure out how to pay your bills. And I was looking online, and a real estate position was open. And it was actually really scammy and salesy and just not at all the right fit for me, but it opened the door. And my mom was always in sales growing up. Everyone said, oh, you'd be great in sales. And I never liked the idea of like selling, like forcing someone to buy something. Like, I did sales at the mall, in high school, and it didn't feel authentic. And so I was like, oh, real estate, like you can't force someone to buy a house, right? And turns out you can. And that was the first company I was with. And I had mentioned I only sold one house in my first 6 months. And then I kind of did an environment audit, and I looked at the people in my life, and I looked at my surroundings, and I was like, okay, this is not right. Like, I need to change something up and I know that I'm willing to put the work in, but what's not working? And it was the people I was around, and switched brokerages, and the rest was history. I ended up selling 20 homes in my first year with that new company. And from there, just continued to scale and grow.
Phenomenal story. I had no idea that you play the cross. So back up here a little bit. We might get down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So you're
Yeah.
from California. What part
Hmm.
of California originally?
Southern California, Orange County, Newport
Oh, you are.
Beach.
Okay. Where'd you go to high
Yes.
school?
Mater Day.
You went to Mater Day. Okay.
Go
Makes sense.
Monarchs.
And then you went to where in Michigan to play lacrosse?
Grand Valley State University.
Yeah, I know it. Okay. And I played lacrosse too as well.
No
That's
way.
how I ended
So
up down in
funny.
Maryland. So
Yeah.
I little side story here, and then we'll keep going. But no, it doesn't surprise me though that like that grit, that high caliber athlete just, okay, what am I doing now? And all you did is just shift those performance mechanisms into the entrepreneur space. And athletes usually make very good entrepreneurs, especially high level ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's how I end up down here in Maryland. I'm originally from upstate New York. I
That's
grew
so
up in
funny.
Rochester, and really crazy story. I know this isn't about me; it's about you. But I promise you,
No,
it'll
I
get
want to
to what we're
hear.
talking about.
The people want
I
to hear, Justin. You got to tell us now.
I a fellow podcast host. I appreciate that. And so I actually in my senior year, junior year, going into senior year, I was verbally committed to Harvard.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Wow.
through some hoops. It was a contingent offer. I had to retake my SATs, and the score they wanted me to get was double what I got the first time.
Oh my
I had to
gosh.
do a whole bunch of stuff if they even wanted me to, if I even wanted them to consider fully bringing me on. I had to go to
Yeah.
a year of prep school, right? All
Oh
these
my
types of.
gosh.
And so my senior year, the head coach of Harvard left and actually ironically became the head coach of University of Maryland. And so the new head coach coming in has a decision to keep the recruiting class or not. And I was like the first one he dropped.
Oh no.
He had someone who played the same position as me who did not have to jump through hoops to get in. And then I'm just, you understand the recruiting process.
Yeah.
The fall season is the spring of your senior year. You had to
Yeah.
be committed like a year before that. And so
Yeah.
like I'm looking around, like, what are my options? And so Division III school down here by the name of Stevenson University at the time was like number 2 in the country. And
Wow.
just so happens their head coach went to my high school.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so,
Wow.
yeah, everything worked out. I came down here, right? Went to
Yeah.
school, played lacrosse. But a big reason why I say that is because um, that athletic portion of us
Hmm.
helps so much in the entrepreneurial space.
Yeah.
And you almost quit lacrosse and got into it at the right time because you were like at the peak of your energy, at the peak of your athleticism, at the peak of
Hmm.
your work ethic at 19. You're like, let me just shift this
Exactly.
right over here to the
Yeah.
entrepreneurial space. And the real estate space being an incredible opportunity, but you need to be surrounded by the right people. And I'm proud of you for at a young age. What did you call it? An environment audit? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
So awesome. So awesome.
Thanks.
Like just taking the time to think through that, right? And
Yeah.
I think that is a great piece of advice in the entrepreneurial space. Like you really are the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with, especially at
Hmm.
a young age of the people that are molding you and giving you example, right, of
Exactly.
how to do things in a particular industry. And
Hmm.
so I know you've become an incredible mentor for a lot of people in the entrepreneurial space. I know it's what your coaching is based around. And so though you're big into real estate, for everybody listening, like Alexia's main titles and pursuits right now are business coaching for entrepreneurs, right? And she obviously knows her shit. So you're definitely an entrepreneur through and through, and a successful one at that. What is a popular piece of advice in entrepreneur space that you don't necessarily agree with?
Hustle culture.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because of how much you've accomplished. So dig into that.
Yeah. And I bought into it. I mean, like I was so at 19, I was playing lacrosse and I'm with these girls, great people, weren't my people. And where I realized was I'd ask them like, "Oh, what are you going to school for?" And everyone was answering like, "Oh, whatever I can stay the longest for. Oh, my mom said I should go into nursing." And I'm like, "What? Like you're going to spend 5 years of your life getting a degree that you don't even like and then like so you can play lacrosse and you're gonna what maybe be a coach, like nothing against that, but I was like that's not my life trajectory, like that's not where I want to be. I don't want to have a degree in 5 years that I care nothing about. And you know I wasn't getting fulfillment from playing lacrosse anymore. And a big reason for that was when I look at my joy trends, which I can spend too much time on, so I won't. But in summary, it was like I looked back at all the things in my life and I was like, okay, what is the reoccurring theme that made me like this activity? So lacrosse, I didn't actually, I mean, I like the sport, I like the athletic side of it, but I love the leadership piece. And that's why for me in high school, the community and the leadership piece that I had in high school compared to college made it such a different experience for me that I knew that it wasn't fulfilling me in the way that I had hoped it would, because that community, that leadership, that dynamic was so different than what I had experienced for the past 4+ years. And same with like other things that I had done. I did mock trial, and I at one point had my degree, or I had my major as pre-law, right? I didn't actually love law. I loved being a leader in mock trial. I loved being the youngest lawyer. I loved the titles and the competition. So I could look at those things and I could say, okay, what did I love about these and how can I replicate that in my life now? And so when I look at that and I talk about leadership and being competitive and community, that's what led me to the world I'm in now, because I could identify those joy trends and say, this is what I truly want to do. And to go back to your question about what I don't buy into of hustle culture, I bought into it. I mean, when I got into real estate, I was working the longest hours because I thought that's what I had to do. And I do think there is truth to putting the work in. I think there's different seasons. I don't think you can be in a startup phase of your business and expect to work 10 hours a week. Like that's just not real. But I also believe work-life balance is so important, whatever that looks like to you. I don't think it's a one size fits all, right? Like if you're 19 years old and you're starting a business, your work-life balance is going to look a lot different than someone who's in their 20s and 30s with multiple kids and a spouse and multiple businesses. So whatever that identity of hustle culture is to you, I'm not saying that don't work hard, but I think to push yourself to burnout and telling yourself the only way to be successful is to work more hours than anyone else is just, I think, not accurate.
Such a good and wise answer. And what I like with that is that you understand gray areas, right? The human mind by trade is a binary system, which means it's either this or that. It's
Mhm.
black or white. It's
Yeah,
good or bad, right? But everything there's a gray area in everything. And honestly, I found
everything.
God's in the gray area,
Yes.
right?
Oh, I love that.
Even dating back to like the lacrosse side of things, which it's like, it wasn't that you hated the sport in totality, but you didn't like a lot of things about it. But at the same time, what was also true was you did like a lot of things about it, particularly the leadership. And you were able to identify that and
Yeah.
just say, hey, I don't need this sport. I don't need this medium or this valve to be a
Hmm.
leader. I can go do it in another way where like it doesn't come with all the other things that I don't like.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then to go out and explore that is phenomenal. And then I 1000% agree with what you said about hustle culture. So that's why this podcast is called the Holistic Hustle Podcast, because
Hmm.
I used to say, I used to literally be the president of the hustle culture. I had shirts that said I'll sleep when I'm dead. And I used to wear them all the time, different
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah.
I'd have tank tops in the gym that said no days off,
Yeah.
right? And well, it served me at the time when I took the time to slow down and ask
Hmm.
myself, like, why am I really doing this? It's when it really
Yeah.
opened big doors for me. And
Hmm.
so, like, I love how you're saying this isn't a license to not work hard, right? But just understand the intention behind it and the season that you're in, right? And so the
100%.
intention behind it, I just ask myself now when it comes to my work ethic, right? Is like, is this bringing me closer to God or further away?
Yeah,
It's my compass.
100%.
And if it's not, I don't do it. And if it does, I continue to work.
That's
Right. And
so
then the
good.
second thing here is like the using that compass and understanding seasons, right?
Hmm.
Like, what comes to mind here is about a couple of years ago, we had a in-person event, October 2022. And it was in Tampa, Florida. It was the first ever event that we had. I didn't have as large of a team as I have now, right? And we had a ton of people coming. And
Hmm.
I'm balancing all of these things on top of prepping for this huge event. And I was working my butt off. I was up at
Hmm.
5 a.m. every day, working at 8 p.m. And it just
Yep.
was seasonal. It was seasonal.
Yep.
As soon as the event happened, I stopped doing it. Right. And
Exactly.
got back to my normal balance. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think those are two huge things just to understand. It's like, ask yourself, why are you working hard? Like, is it actually needed? And is it bringing you closer to God or further away? Is it in your best
Yeah.
interest or not? And does the season require circumstantially for you to work a little bit harder or not? And then when you have those
100%.
seasons where circumstantially you can step back a little bit, especially if you're a mom of three under two, right?
Yeah.
Oh
302.
gosh, three under two. There might be some seasons that you might want to step back a little bit. But I think the biggest thing here with what Alexia has done, right, is that she's worked really hard early on in her life to give herself the luxury of choice.
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
is an incredible guide for other people, right? And she guides people through a community called Boss Mom, and you're definitely a boss mom or mom boss. I'm dyslexic, just swap those words.
No, it's okay.
Mom
Mom
boss.
Boss Central. Yeah.
Yeah, Mom Boss Central, which is seems like an awesome opportunity. But what are you hoping for women to experience inside that brand and community?
Yeah, so I, like you mentioned, three kids under two. I did front load the work and with plans of like, hey, I really want to open this brokerage. I want to open this real estate team, have some more passive income before we start, trying to get pregnant. And, you make plans and God laughs. So I said, all right, we're ready to start trying. And sure enough, I got pregnant with twins. That was not part of my plan. I thought I'll have one baby. I'll take her with me to meetings or showings or whatever it is. But two, it doesn't really work like that. So, God's timing is perfect. God's plan is perfect, and it's propelled me exactly where I need to be, which I'm so grateful for. However, it did definitely not go how I expected. Right, I had just opened my office. I had just opened my well, I had my team for a bit, but I had really just opened the brokerage and to kind of pivot and to say, okay, I now have these two little babies that are fully dependent on me. It was very hard to navigate for me, the motherhood space, like the entrepreneurial space felt very safe. It felt comfortable. I felt like I had been in that. I knew how to work harder. However, the motherhood side of it was like, what research? Like, I could read all the books. I did. I read all the books. I'm in all the Facebook groups. I'm trying to do all the things to meet the right people. And it's like, there's no answer. There's no formula. It's not like, oh, you do this and your kids are going to turn out perfect and they're never going to have an issue and they're going to be happy and live happily ever after. Like, if that existed, everyone would be following it. But the reality is, nobody has it figured out. And so what I experienced was I was in the Facebook groups for moms and they're telling me I need to spend more time with my kids. And I'm in the Facebook groups for work and business owners. And it was, I need to spend more time working. And I was like, where are the people that understand, like, I am not going to sacrifice my business, that part of my identity to raise my kids, but I'm also going to work really hard to be a great mom and be a leader and show them you can do both. Like, you don't have to sacrifice who you are to be a mom. You don't have to like abandon your kids to work. You don't have to abandon your work to have kids. Like, there can be both. And so really the community was designed to connect the women that are going through that and experiencing it, all ages and stages. Doesn't matter if you're pregnant or if you're an empty nester at this point. It's really just to share those experiences and those struggles and the success that we have as working moms that are juggling, managing a home, raising kids, running a business, trying to grow, whether it's trying to grow financially, trying to grow by having more time, it doesn't matter, but we're all experiencing those same unique struggles. And truly, I mean, dads experience it as well. I don't want to say that you don't, but it's a very different relationship, is what I've experienced anyway. So just, I mean, I breastfed my kids, and with my third daughter, she was in the office with me every day, all day for the first 5 months when I breastfed. Like, I have a baby swing behind me. You can't see it right now, but my assistant I would be on podcast interviews and she'd have to take the baby out to the conference room because she'd start crying on like a podcast interview. So, it's just a different experience. And I think it's just something that's so unique to women in business that I just feel like they deserve to be supported and find like-minded women that are experiencing the same thing.
Urge them to live an and life instead of an or life. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the biggest things I vibe with you on. It's like you don't have to pick.
Yeah.
I think so many women, especially entrepreneurial women, get into the space where it's like they feel like they have to pick. It's like be a good mom or,
Mm-hmm.
be a good business owner. It's like
Yeah.
be a good wife or be a good business owner. Like be a
Yeah.
good woman of the household or be a good business owner. And you
Yeah.
do have to pick. That's
Mm-hmm.
limiting thinking.
Preach.
That is scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
Like what is the word that I'm or the term that I'm looking for? Not the opposite of growth mindset. Is that scarcity,
Yeah,
right?
I would say
Yeah,
scarcity
we'll
mindset.
call it that. It's limited
Yeah.
thinking to think that like you have to pick. I
Yeah.
promise you, it is possible to not only be massively successful in both of those titles, but all of the titles that you wear, right? And so I love that that's
100%.
what you do. So for any women business owner listening to this, right? Who also, you're a mom, right? I promise you that there is the opportunity and the possibility. And I urge you to go after that. And what I mean by that is to be a great business owner and a great mom in parallel.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need a guide, somebody to help you do that, somebody that is doing that while at the
Mhm.
same time still learning from her process, right? Kind of just a couple of steps ahead of you with this white flag, like come this way,
Yeah,
right? Like don't
exactly.
step on that landmine I stepped on, walk through that door of opportunity that I walked through or that I wish I would have walked through,
Yeah.
right? And just someone just to hold up a mirror for you,
Yeah.
right? It's sometimes we're so close to the trees we can't see the forest,
A hundred
right?
percent.
And people like Alexia and I are strapped up with coaches for a reason because we believe in it, right?
Hmm.
And so we believe in the possibility that it offers, and I'm just so happy that's what happens inside of Mom Boss Central. And so Alexia, I appreciate you coming by the show today, and I hope any woman business owner listening to this, or anybody that knows a woman business owner, please share this episode. Please share Alexia's contact information with them because through and through, this woman is probably the best guide out there for what she just talked about today.
Thank you.
And so, where can people find you and connect?
Yeah, Instagram, Alexia Hoffman Co. You could go to alexiahoffman.com. That has everything. Those are the two places I'll guide you. I'm on socials, but if you go to alexiahoffman.com, you can find links to my socials. You can find info about coaching, speaking, everything else. And then Instagram is where I'm most active, which is Alexia Hoffman Co. So that's me. I'd love to hear from you guys if anything resonated with you today. It's always nice to hear from listeners and to connect. I'd love to hear your story, hear what you're working on, and if I can be an ally or an asset to you in any way, like that door is always open. So
And Mom Boss Central is definitely something I'll urge everybody to look into and take part in if possible. But worst case scenario, just reach out to Alexia and have an awesome human being in your corner, right? Make that connection. And you guys all know, like I don't bring just anybody on this show. I don't want to say the words not snobby, but I'm pretty exclusive with the people that come on the show. They have to be a good fit holistically, no pun intended, right? And I do a good job of vetting them and feeling them out, and not just their credentials and their expertise and their success, but them as a human being. And this woman is of gold. She really, really
thank
is.
you.
And so I hope that you all feel this today and continue to experience her. Reach out, take advantage of what she has going on. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. So, Alexia, thank you for coming to the show today. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Justin.
No
Appreciate it.
problem at all. No problem at all. And so, everyone, thank you for coming back to another episode of the Holistic Hustle podcast. As I always say, I am just simply trying to create content that's going to change this world. And amazing guests like Alexia help. But what also helps are amazing listeners like y'all. So please make sure that you download, you subscribe, and you share with other people that this message would impact, because I need your help with spreading this word. So thank y'all for coming, and we'll see you in the next episode.